So Marshall, can you tell us how your introduction to music, to synthesizers and hardware software, how did that bring you to YouTube?
So YouTube, I opened an account in like 2006, I believe. Um, and it was purely to post a video of a synthesizer that I was selling on eBay. So it was literally a demo. This video is still on my channel. It's I want to say it was of the Nord, or no, it would have been the SH201. I think that's the first video I ever did. And it was literally to just demonstrate the synthesizer that I was selling, that it worked, and here's some of the features for people that might not know. And that's kind of how my YouTube channel got started. But I kind of didn't pay attention. You know, those videos racked up quite a few views, especially for back in the early days of YouTube. And I just kind of didn't pay attention and really didn't start seriously pursuing YouTube, in other words, of trying to generate consistent content until like 2016, 2017.
When I was looking at buying a bunch of different synths a couple summers ago, I saw the SH201 in a local ad. So I obviously went to YouTube to Google and find out as much as I could about it. And your video was actually one of the ones that I came across.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. And it was a real throwback. It reminded me of the early days of YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, I did that on a point and shoot camera that was meant to take pictures, but it did video, but not very well. And I didn't do any direct audio recording. It was just kind of, you know, it was very, how do you say, very basic with this. I mean, it was just to show how it worked, and that was it. So, but that's funny that you ended up finding that video. I don't know why, but that video just got a bunch of views. I think it's like, if it's not at 200,000, it's pretty close to that. And it got like a lot almost right away. So I don't know. I just don't think at that time, obviously YouTube was pretty new and a lot of people weren't necessarily posting synth videos, maybe, I guess, I don't know. But it's pretty funny. And that goes all the way back to the beginning of the channel. So that's cool.
The good old days, right?
Yeah.
I went through some of your videos and I see over time you were creating content such as like showing people how to create a trance track from start to finish. You were doing a lot of breakdowns for, as I was mentioning earlier, Roland gear, the DO5 especially. Thank you, by the way, because it seems like Roland didn't quite get the point of releasing the boutiques to the world, because they just gave us the product, that didn't give us a video or demos or like how to back it up and stuff. So like your channel, other channels as well, but yours especially, you guys going into such deep detail about these synths and like what you can do, patch creation, patch storage, how it works, like even like the SEO2, that also helped me with my purchase of the SEO2. That's the kind of content you were making, and it was very, very good and very in-depth.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, when I get something like that that's a little complicated, it makes for a perfect video. You know, it's not the most pleasant experience to try and go through a manual. So having somebody visually show you how to do something, at least to me, like, it's extremely helpful. So I'm glad that I'm able to provide some of that. I did a similar thing kind of with the Waldorf Kyra. Some people are a little confused with the workflow of that. And so I tried to kind of make some videos demonstrating that synth, and a very similar thing. The DO5 is, you know, an exact clone of the D50, which is at the time, you know, there's like no knobs or very little controls. It was very menu driven type of interface. And so it can be confusing to understand how that synth works and how to get in and, like you said, backup patches. At the very least, I mean, you want to be able to learn how to import or save patches out of it. So yeah, I'm glad that was very helpful for you. Those were fun videos to make too. So yeah, glad those were helpful.
Thank you, thank you. And also, I can tell that you really love the Roland DO5 or the D50, and I feel like we could talk about that all night. I love Roland so much. Something about that sound and like the way they design their synths. It seems kind of like a lifestyle brand to me at this point. But yeah,
They have released some really incredible gear. I mean, through their lineage, it's incredible. They have, I mean, there's equipment that they released that at the time failed, but people scooped up and created entirely new genres of music, like the TB303. You know, it's that pretty much invented acid house. Like we wouldn't have that without that little box that was supposed to be a, you know, a little bass player substitute for people to practice with. I guess. I mean, I'm not sure really what the intent was there, but people picked that up and abused it, and it's amazing. And then the drum machines, I've heard. You know, the funny thing is, I heard if you're familiar with Rick Beato, he's got a pretty big YouTube channel. He goes through and breaks down some very famous tracks. Somehow he gets the Pro Tools sessions where he can actually break down individual tracks and stuff. It's pretty cool. But I did hear him say something that kind of irritated me a little bit, because he was talking about how, you know, the 808 sounds and the 909, I think he's called out the 808 specifically, are just so they're used so much. And I'm sitting there thinking, dude, you know, how long has the bass guitar been around? How long has the regular guitar? And if we can go back further to orchestral music, like those instruments have been around for a very long time. Pianos. And they're used in all kinds of stuff too. So I mean, it's a sound that people really like, and it sounds really good. So, and that harkens back to Roland and their lineage being very good. The synthesizer portions as well. I mean, the Jupiter 8 is a synth that's like a holy grail synth for me. I don't have one, but I hope to get one someday. It would be nice if Roland would do kind of like what Korg and Moog and I'm trying to think who else. A few other companies have come out with reissues of some of their vintage instruments. And being that Roland is a company that's still around, they could do that. And I really wish that they would do an authentic reissue of some of those analog synths that, you know, right now, if you get one, they're about 20 grand, I think, going on the open market for a synth. And I don't know, that's always scared me to purchase something that's that old for that much money, you know. Yeah, it'd be nice if they, and I know that they, you know, they design the future, and their whole ethos is to not look back, to look forward. And that's cool. You could still do that, but you could still kind of give us, you know, a slice of the stuff that we would really love to have again. And I think it's been proven by these other companies that it would be a good idea.
I've always felt, this is just a hypothesis of mine, but I feel that Roland will release all of those synths again, but that's their end game. I feel like maybe when people aren't into the cloud, or other companies have been releasing gear that surpasses Roland in the marketplace, they're going to throw out the Jupiter 8, they'll throw out the Juno 106, and if it's not a 1v1 reissue, it will be the successor that is what we want, a real analog voice synth that is worthy of the Jupiter name.
Yeah. Like the Jupiter 50 and the Jupiter 80, when those came out, I was really mad. What I would have liked to have seen from them when those came out would have been a successor to the V-Synth GT, something like that. I would have been all about. And, you know, that's kind of what that is, I think. But branding it the way they did, I couldn't get into it. But at the same time, I understand why they're you know, it's their name, it's their product line, and that's what they're doing. The cloud, though, I will say I really like the cloud concept. And I use the cloud all the time, the Roland Cloud stuff. I do use it a lot. So I think that is a very nice way to go. And the System 8 that they came out with about 2015, the idea of having a synth that you can basically import plugins into, which is kind of what that is doing, I thought was brilliant. And I wish they would have expanded on that and released something that had more voice capabilities. instead of just 8, maybe a 16 voice version. But yeah, there's still all kinds of really amazing Roland gear to pick from. You've got many decades worth of instruments. Not all of them cost an arm and a leg. That SH201 we were talking about, that's like a very inexpensive synth, and very good for people, I think, first getting into synths. It's got a nice workflow. And the editor on it is really good. You'll have to use it with an older computer because they don't have driver support anymore. But it was technically the second synth I ever owned was an SH201. The first one was an MS2000, but I was still pretty new with synthesis, and I took that back and I got the SH201 because it seemed easier to use. But it had that editor, which allowed for like a programmable arpeggiator, which I thought was brilliant. And not a lot of synths have that for some reason. They don't have, they have the basic up, down, back and forward kind of arpeggiators. But this allowed me to kind of dig in and start doing my own kind of patterns in the arpeggiator, which I really thought was brilliant. So yeah, I think that's actually not a bad synth for people.